GT Holidays, South India's #1 travel brand, and Nokia, a social watchlist app for all your movies and shows, present the Galatta Plus Mega Pan India Roundtable 2023, powered by Namma Family Builder and Developer Private Limited and hospitality partner JW Marriott, Juhu, Mumbai.
GT Holidays, South India's #1 travel brand.
Nokia, your social watch list, rate, review all your favorite movies and shows. Namma Family Builder and Developer Private Limited, உங்கள் கனவுகள் நிறைவேறும் இடம்.
Hello everyone, welcome to the Galatta Plus Roundtable Pan India. Thank you so much for being here, taking out your time, and especially Jude, because you just flew in from a grueling 45-day Oscar campaign for 2018. You landed yesterday, and you're here today. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Are you jet lagged at all?
Not yet.
Not yet. Okay. So, what is it? What does it take to campaign for a film in the US? Like, just briefly tell me, what is it that you did for 45 days?
I should thank to the people here in Film Federation of India who has selected India's official India's for my film, and I'm sure Rima is here. Rima has been there previously, like
Right.
So it's a wonderful journey there in the Oscars. I know people know better than me, but to meet people there and to have the screening your own film screened for the members there, and to have reception with these people and to talk to them and to get feedback from them. That's an awesome feeling as a filmmaker, and to be an Indian there, like we represent India there as an Indian official entry. So it was awesome journey, and I just loved it, and I am very thankful to the people of India for watching my film. And
So nice.
No one making it the biggest Malayalam blockbuster of all time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's like something. So you get
Thanks
the
to the
biggest
audience,
commercial
yeah.
hit and
Yeah.
this
Yeah.
Oscar thing. It's
yeah,
the
that
two in
thing,
one. That's
two in
great.
one is
Yeah.
Amazing.
blessing.
But,
Yeah.
so you go to LA, or like LA, right?
LA, yeah.
Right. So once you're there, what do you do with the film? Like you have various screenings.
Yes.
Okay.
We have to get a publicist first, and he will plan the things like screening with reception, screening without reception. Then you have to give advertisement in magazines. That is highly costly. They like $15,000 for a single page ad.
Oh my God.
And you have to give at least 10 to 15 ads, something like that. And the producer has to think it before, like I am going to spend like crores of money for only the advertisements. And after that, you have to meet so many people, and the publicist told me that even if they love the film, they have to love you. So after the screening, you have to be very
It's not just enough to make a good film.
Yeah. You have to go and schmooze. You have to go and
Yeah, it's like, yeah, thank you so much. And it's like, yeah. And the people loved the film. That's the main thing. Like, and they were asking me, how did you shoot the film? And for them, like $3 million is nothing for them. But for a Malayalam film, it's a huge budget for.
Right.
So when I was saying the budget, it's like $3 million. They was like, how did you shoot the film in $3 million? I said, that's how we Indians make film in India. We have the budget constraint, but we try to make the good films. So thanks to all the filmmakers who have done films before me. So I just learned from them how to make films in short span of time.
So Jude, would you say that it makes sense then to send pictures that whose producers have the financial means to kind of mount this kind of Oscar campaign?
That will be great, actually. Actually, last year's film, the Cello Show, that film was financed by Siddharth Roy Kapoor, and he did well, and he got into shortlist like 15 films, and that was done because I knew from the members they were saying about last year's entry, so he did well actually. So if we are sending a film with the financial background, that will be great thing. But Film Federation of India is supporting the films from the government, giving some money to them. But in fact, I have seen so many other countries supporting the film there. they are not that rich countries, but they are still doing better than us. So I was thinking next time maybe we should support more. I just made a checklist for the next year guy who wants to give something, and it's like you have to do this, you have to do this,
Yeah.
don't do this.
Yeah, I
And
think.
paneling helped me a lot with the last year's director. I called him and I talked to him like 1.5 hours, and he was like, you do this, you do that. And he was saying that I came to know about this only after the Oscar campaign. So better you do these things now. But I was too late to call him. I was there in the 30th day and I called him. I was like, why? I could have called you in the first day itself. So again, it's depends on how the members votes, and I hope we will get into the shortlist first.
Right. By the way, he has a Rani Mukherjee connection, and she has a Rani Mukherjee connection. His comes because he was approached by a
Director, writer,
producer,
writer,
a writer.
Hollywood writer. He just messaged me after the IFFI here in Goa. He messaged me saying that I'm a writer from Hollywood. I want to make a film with you. I said, yeah, we can. Then he was saying, I want to make a film with Rani as a lead, and can you direct it? I was like, are you saying that? I said, I'm in LA. I will come to India and call you. I still have his number, so that's in the process.
Yeah, so there's a chance for you to maybe appear in a Malayalam film.
Oh, that will be lovely.
So, and Rima came to Mumbai wanting to be Rani Mukherjee.
Oh, how sweet.
Right. So, Rima, do you want to tell us a bit about your journey? Like, of course, now you're this very acclaimed director. I would rather call you an all-in-one army because you write, you shoot, you edit, you produce,
Wow.
It's amazing. You do like pretty much everything.
Didn't have choice.
But first you wanted to become an actor.
Yes.
What was your
yes.
experience like here?
I was only exposed to Bollywood films, and I loved it. So when I came to especially Bombay to become an actor, so I wanted to be like her. But slowly it was not easy coming from totally, being an, I'm not saying outsider, somehow I feel I was not ready. I didn't have that kind of confidence, and also from my region, I feel that time there was not enough representation. It was hard to find a role, and also limited, no streaming platform that time, so limited films. Daily soap. So slowly, when I got exposed to world cinema, then it gave me courage to go back to my roots and make my own films.
And that's fantastic because you put Assam on the map like nobody before. And now I'm very excited about Village Rockstars 2. That's coming out next year?
Hopefully.
Hopefully. Yeah.
It's
yeah.
on edit.
Right,
Yes,
right.
yes.
We want to see what Dunu does next. So, yeah.
Thank you.
So, Sandeep, you had a success this year, I think. I want to ask you especially about one thing, because last year on this panel, actor Karti said that the one thing that people really make their minds up with is the trailer of a film. That's what really draws them to the film. And your trailers are very unique in that, see, most trailers try to tell a story. I think you try to sell an emotion in the trailer, and that's what I've noticed, but correct me if I'm wrong. And while most trailers try to show lots of little snapshots from the film saying all this is there in the movie, like come and watch our movies, you actually put scenes. How did this become your mode of saying this is how my trailer is going to be? And can you take us through the process of putting together the trailer for Animal?
To start with, I always wanted to give a trailer which tells one side of the story, not the entire story. I don't like giving away the entire story, and I never liked those small intercuts. And I thought opening the trailer with a conflict will be interesting. So when I started opening the topic of father and son, then I figured out it is holding my attention. So that particular opening, I just left it for 40 seconds. The scene was still running and it's still interesting. So then I figured out after that what will be the next shot. So I didn't had a template. I thought like what what it will be after this 40 seconds. And eventually I built it up little
Right.
to the crux point. Yeah. So there's no formula for it actually.
No, I know it's not a formula,
Yeah.
but it's a style. It's so that because people don't usually let scenes run for so long in a trailer. That's why. That's what I was.
Even in Arjun Reddy I used, after few years.
Yeah.
People don't use after few years in trailer. So I thought like it is very compelling when I see it like an outsider, not like my film.
Right.
I thought like it is smooth hair, it's going good. So I thought, yeah. And when Animal teaser went on to like again few people felt it was again with anger management. So I thought maybe I gave a wrong signal. So I thought like I'll stick to the story. we didn't even guess that the trailer is going to be that big success. I thought like let's give what is in the story.
Right.
But only one side of it, not the entire story. So yeah.
When you say one side of it, you mean the father-son conflict.
Yeah, father, son, and there is so many other facets also in the film.
Right.
And I didn't want to open major action also because
Right.
there are only 2 actions, it's only in one set of scenes, so I can't open too much also. And those fast cuts I never liked, I was never a fan of those cuts, so ho gaya.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right. Karan, this is your 25th year in the industry as a director. Of course, you started a little earlier, but 25 years since Kuch Kuch Hota Hai released. And of course, one of your stars is right there. Now, when you directed this film, you were all of what, 24, 25?
24.
24. At that time, there was no Google, internet, how to teach yourself to make films, do it yourself, whatever it is. It's basically, so where did you get the confidence that you could direct the film?
So I think like the way things unraveled were really rather destiny related. There's no other way because I didn't think I was equipped, to kind of make my first feature film. My training ground was I hadn't gone to film school. Though my father produced films, I lived geographically in a totally different part of the city. So I was very far removed from the Nepo kids. I never hung out with them a lot, barring Zoya and Farhan, Abhishek and Shweta. And Adi and Uday I met much later. It was thanks to Adi that I actually got sucked into being on a film set. Like I was actually going to study out of the country and come back and do so because my mother believed that my father had lost a lot of money in the movies and she felt like his business acumen and my business acumen cumulatively was a big zero. So she said get a job, get a stable job which has a salary, because if you make movies it's so unreliable. And then Adi called me one night and said that, what are you doing? Like you're a filmmaker, you're melodramatic. You have a sense of humor, you're dancing all the time, you sing all the time though you can't sing, and the only thing you don't have in you is an interval. You should be on a film set. So he asked me to AD on Dilwale Dulhaniya Le Jayenge, and it's the very first, when I entered the set, I was like, I'm going to be a costume designer, but I'm not telling anybody. Because I was like, that is really my calling, because if I tell people I want to make movies, they might laugh. So the very first day I remember Adi telling me that Shah Rukh is coming on set, and Shah Rukh is coming on set, and you have to get him some costume from some Chandni ka peti, and because we didn't have a costume ready. Now he didn't realize that me going into Chandni ka peti was like literally, I'm going to use the word an orgasm for me, because I couldn't believe I was going to see Sri Devi's iconic saris. I was like, forget anything else. And he said, "Ek unused kama." So there was an unused red and white sweater, and Shah Rukh had to come to do that very famous shot where he has to wave at Kajal at the end of Na Jaane Mere. So I found this red and white striped, and then there was a emblem on a Rishi Kapoor jacket, which I had to cover a tear. There was a big tear. So I thought I had done some genius thing. I put that emblem over that, and you see there's an emblem on the red and white sweater. Then I walked in, and Shah Rukh, I had met me because my father was producing a film for him called Duplicate, but he had met me once briefly. So I looked at him and I said, "You should wear tighter jeans." So he looked at me and he said, like he was just like, and I was saying very strange things to him for a assistant, because I'm very new to this world. So I was like, your body shape will look better in tighter jeans. Then I said, you should show your Adam as apple, because a lot of girls think it's very attractive. So he said whatever he said, just call Adi in. So he said, who is this person? Why is he telling me I should show my Adam's apple and tight jeans? He kahan se aaya hai? So he was like, quintessentially in Bombay, if you're a Mumbaiker, you know that you call them townies if you're from South Bombay. He's saying townie hai, he knows all these things. You just listen to him. So he wore that costume and I thought I'd found my calling. Like then I'm going to be a costume designer. That was my calling. That that I'll make costumes and that will be my biggest achievement. I didn't even think. It was when I was on the top of a... So what happened is that I had helped writing the climax scene of Dilwale, which Shah Rukh says, Bauji theek kehte hain, main awara hoon, whatever. So Adi used to always have these competitions for some reason. So he used to say, Uday, you write the scene, I write the scene, and then we'll check whose scene is better. So I wrote the scene, which was actually the climax scene is an adaptation of For Caesar's an Honourable Man. It's actually a sarcastic speech where he says, I love Simran. तो क्या हुआ if this lover is all मैं झूठा हूँ तो क्या हुआ अगर if this झूठा loves your daughter I'm a आवारा हूँ but so what if this आवारा loves her like nobody else can. So it's actually a sarcastic speech.
I'm very impressed of you brought in Shakespeare.
It was Shakespeare. So you getting impressed would have not mattered to me at that time because who got impressed was Shah Rukh. So
much more important.
So he looked at me and he said, "तू हिंदी लिख सकता है?" तो ऐसे ना इसे तू तो टाउन ही है तुझे कैसे पता हिंदी क्या होती है तो ऐसे नहीं मैं लिख सकता हूँ my spoken Hindi is not as strong. So he said अच्छा and I felt like Shah Rukh Adi gave me, which was very magnanimous of Adi, because we all know that nobody likes to give credit to anyone in this industry for anything. So he said Karan wrote 80% of the scene, and at that point in time Shah Rukh started looking at me differently, and after that it became like just me and Shah Rukh got along. And then on top of a mountain he told me that you should do a film and I'll do it. I'll do Kuch Kuch Hota Hai, whatever the film, my first film was.
Based on that speech?
Based on just that one that I had an understanding, instinct, yeah. And then Kajal was there floating around and she said, even I'll do it. Then I said, they're just talking rubbish, they're cold. It's very far away in Switzerland, they're missing their homes. Thand mein, they're just saying anything.
It's a cold, yes.
Yeah, so I was like, sometimes you get delirious in the cold. No, they ask me to make a film. So I'm like, and then I came home and I told my father, and my father also thought they were delirious. My mother thought they were mad. They said, no follow-up. Shah Rukh called up my father and said, he used to call him Tom Uncle. So he said, Tom Uncle, I'll do your next film, duplicate we're doing, but your next film your son will direct. So my father agreed, put the phone down. He said, "वो पागल हो गया बोल रहा है कि तू direct करेगा." So my mother saying, "He's really gone mad. Like, what do you know?" And I was also saying, "Yeah, what do I mean?" All of us who were in tandem, then I knew nothing. And somehow he made me narrate some films, some fragments of a story that I narrated. I put together, and and I went to narrate it to him, and he said, "Yeah, I'm on. We'll start October '97." And then Kajal narrated, and then she also agreed. Then the casting her was the trauma. Because 8 people said no to me, and then she also nearly said no to me.
No, I never said no to you. Stop lying.
Yeah, but nearly had.
He's told every interview.
No, he's just selling some wrong story from the beginning. I was the only one who said yes to him.
Yes, and she took me into a room, and no girl had asked me to come to their room. She said, "Can you come?"
Can you just say why I took you to the room?
To ask me.
Yeah, explain it, please.
1 minute, please. This is sounding really strange.
She said, "Can you come to my room? I have to tell you something."
To my bedroom. Yeah, I said that. Because Nikhil and Tarun, who were his assistants, they were sitting and staring at my face. Like, abhi ye haan bolegi ki na bolegi. So I was like,
mujhe orange skirt pehn ke karna padega.
Should I embarrass Karan? Because it was a thing that I wanted to ask him in privacy. And they were not seeming to move. They were like, we are going to be here only. So I said, okay, then I'll just take Karan to the room and ask him what I want to ask him. So I took him to the room and I said, because I was new at that time. I didn't know anything about films or anything. So I said that, Karan, your story is amazing and I think you're going to make a great film because the way you narrated the film, I could actually visualize the whole film. But how are you going to convince an audience that Shah Rukh's character falls in love with Tina's character over Anjali, that is Kajal? Because they were after DDLJ, like Shah Rukh and Kajal. So he was like, you just leave that to me. Just say a yes. And I'm like, yeah, I'm on. So I think at that point of time, the innocence and his passion for his first film
and the rejection
was so amazing that as a young girl, I just thought that whatever happens, I want to work with this man because he seems to be really honest, and I think he's going to make a very honest film.
Right.
So for me, I connected with Karan and I connected with the story, and I thought that he had beautifully written it, and he was like really raring to go. And for me, because I was an accidental actor, I was like, I just want to be with good people around me, you know. I just want the experience of being in films, a good experience. So I always chose good people at that point of time where I could connect with them, you know, and I felt safe.
And I had a really strange time casting Salman because I had gone prior to that to Saif and then to Chandrachur Singh, and both had declined the film. And then Salman caught hold of me at a party and said that, I heard you've been shopping. So I said, I understood what he meant. So I said, he's saying, only a fool will do you this film because I know the role is, you come and narrate it to me. So I went the next day, and I went to his house, and he was, you know, he used to stay in the same floor with his brothers. They all stayed together at Galaxy. Yeah.
Salman has a very big heart.
Yeah, he was like, he heard the first half and said, I'm on, but he was not in the first half. So I was like, started getting stressed that I thought, I hope he doesn't think I've offered him Shah Rukh's role. So because I was like, I said, but Salman, you're in the second half. He says, no, I've understood the movie. I know what will happen. I'll do it. I love your dad, and I'll do it, and I'll do it. What is there? How many days you need? I said, 10, 12 days. He said, yeah, I'm on, whatever. So he was like, you just discuss the monies and all, whatever. And he said that my dad got into. And I walked out, first person I called was Adi, I remember. Because I was like, Salman said yes. And he's saying, what? He was like, I was saying, I don't know what's going on. Like literally it became suddenly, and I had no idea why Salman said yes. Till today, I have no clue why he said yes.
Because
He loved your dad.
Because, yeah, he did. He said that, and I think that was really amazing. And I felt so blessed because I remember those days we could keep secrets. Because nobody knew Salman was in the movie. You know, when he gets introduced post the second half, there was a roar in the audience. Because today with the paparazzi and the media and the internet, how do you keep a secret like this? Those days nobody knew he was in the film. So it was quite an unusual casting. And then it all came together. Like when you ask me, 25 years have passed and it doesn't feel like that to me. But like, Kuch Kuch Hota Hai was really born out of some kind of love and destiny. The talent comes after that, I think, you know. Then I think, you know, it's just the universe has been kind.
Right. So I want to ask all the directors here, like when you thought of the film, what was the core, Tora's husband, what was the core of it when you decided you wanted to make it?
It's your instinct, mostly my instinct, and at the time, story comes to me.
Okay.
And I keep thinking about it for some time. And if I like feel like, okay, you fall in love with that story, it evolve also with time. And then just you go for it. And also it is the time, sometimes, okay, this story is probably, this one is the best for the world today,
right?
You know, then also you see the practicalities of, you know, your intended audience, lots of other things. Because I am not only the director, I'm also the producer of the film. So I started when sometimes I question myself, am I losing the purity of when I met Village Rockstars, Bulbul Can Sing, because you need to also sustain, you know, survive as a filmmaker. And then that question comes to my mind when now I choose a story. But I really appreciate like passionate, brave directors, producers. Probably they don't think about the outcome and just create a film. But nowadays I think, but I'm trying to also keep a balance. But with Tora's husband, I was here in Mumbai 3 months, the first lockdown. So when I was back, and it was different in my village, you know, like people were, like they started working, and I also thought, okay, let's go and make a movie. How that uncertainty of the time, you know, and also I started seeing people like they looks fine outside, but they are broken inside, you know. So that's how it started.
That was the core of the
I
Tora's
think
husband.
so.
Right,
Yes,
right.
yes.
Now, you mentioned, I'm going to come back to you, but like you mentioned being a producer. Now, Taapsee, your second film as a producer this year, Dhak Dhak, came out. And one thing that you said that was very interesting, you said it's so difficult to get these films out because most of the producers, they retrieve their money from the sales to the streamers.
Streaming platforms,
So
yes.
there is no money left for P&A. publicity and advertising. So it's very difficult for a potential audience to get such films across to a potential audience. Like from both of you,
Yes.
is there a solution?
Well, we are still, I don't think we have reached a stage where we have a solution for it. We are still like struggling and fighting about it because, see, my problem is either you put it on OTT straight away. OTT ends up saying that, okay, they don't want to put the P&A on a film which doesn't have a big star. Or you release it in theatre saying, okay, fine, we'll play on the front foot and put in some money and be fair to the film and we'll see whatever the outcome is. Now what happens is they don't want to, the studios don't want to do that because they're very scared that doesn't have a big star. So it might just end up like, they might end up losing the film and they'll have bosses to answer to. So now what happens in this scene is you have a very token release of this film. And obviously because it's a token release, it doesn't really end up collecting any money. And the film is tagged as flop.
Right.
And then it releases on OTT platforms 8 weeks later. And when it comes there, people feel like, oh, but when did it even release?
Yeah.
Like, oh, it released, but it was a flop. So basically, it's not worth my time and attention on OTT because it was flop, no, when it came. It was not like a Jawan, you know, when it came, it was a big release and then everybody loved it. And now it's, you know, OTT there also, everybody's loving it. It's not like that with these films. So it becomes a bigger struggle now because nobody wants to push the film. Everybody wants to be associated with good content and they want to be proud of nurturing something which was not really an obvious hit on paper. But when it comes to actually pushing it, not many people have the courage to push it like that. So I think that's where the films like these suffer, and I really want to understand how to find a solution for it, because I'm not able to find a solution for it. But I'm hoping with time people probably have a solution, or at least let me know about it.
Yeah, surely we need brave producers, and also like if you have a big budget, your expectation is different. But if you have a modest budget, and when I am making a film, the profit is not for the single year. You know, with Village Rockstars, it is every year also. Like it is sometimes requests coming from platforms from different parts of the world, then universities, I get requests from universities. So I feel like we should have a plan,
Right.
you know, and how to balance it, you know, that making the profit and making that market value also, you know, looking at the long term. So there are many platforms. So from the very beginning, when you are making the movie, somehow you know your intended viewers,
Right.
and how to reach to them, you know. Yeah, that is a struggle, but it is a complex situation, but I am hopeful and I think it is possible because there are examples.
Well,
And-
OTT is also clutter now. It's not like,
Right.
you know, initially they were like, okay, one film releasing in couple of weeks.
Yeah.
So you know that, okay, this film is like the only new release for like 2 weeks or 3 weeks. Now it's like every week you have either an original or a post-release film coming on, and multiple OTT platforms. So now it's a clutter. So it's not like how it was 2 years back on OTT anymore. So you really need to, even though it's coming on OTT before or after the release or straight to OTT, it still needs some kind of a push. Audience has so many options. So it's,
Yes.
you have to get their attention in some way. That's the struggle.
I think the two producers here can offer some tips maybe on what to do about the situation.
It is actually becoming, you'll be surprised, on every level it is very difficult today, while we're having the most amazing year in terms of box office, like you know, in terms of there's a big return to the cinema. There's that feeling like cinemas are back. Right, last year or the year before that, there was this talk that has the digital revolution taken over. Is cinemas now, you know, a thing of the past? And then suddenly this year starts with Pathaan, right up to Animal. I mean, like, it's going crazy. And the numbers are exponentially higher. Like the 300 crore club is now moved to the 500 crore club suddenly this year. And all kinds of films have worked. Like literally you have Rani's film that has worked.
Yeah.
12th Fail has worked.
Yes,
I mean, these are
yes.
all films that are nurturing. And there was also this thing that, oh, the middle order film is not going to work. That has also been proven wrong this year. Every myth has been shattered, but still, satellite is at its lowest. You're getting the least amount of money for satellite. digital now are being very discerning in what they're taking and not taking, because I think they'd put in a lot of their initial funds in the pandemic years, and now because there are, you know, the numbers are high for certain kind of A-list tentpole films, they're not being able to. So now they're asking you to release the film theatrically, but you cannot, like Taapsee said, a film like Dhak Dhak and several other films that are high on content and are good films are getting that token. They get a 200 print release or a 500 print release, and people are not advertising. You don't know when it comes and it goes. So there is right now, the solution is that literally, if you have the might on really, like for example, we produced a film called Kill. Now I'm saying this because I put my money where my mouth is. Now the Kill has a new actor. It has a lead actor. It has a director who's made like 2 smaller films prior to this.
This is the one with Gunit Monga?
With Gunit. Gunit and I collaborate. It's an expensive action film. We had a Korean crew. We've spent a huge amount of money on the film. But it's a chance one took because we love the content. We love the director. It's a genre film. It's based entirely on a moving train. And it's got a new lead actor. We took a chance by going to TIFF with it. Because it was well reviewed, we managed to sell to Lionsgate, UK and USA. Now, I became suddenly an understanding person of what indie cinema is. Through Gunit, actually, I learned a lot because you're nobody there. You know, there, you're part of this big market. And you might be, I might be Dharma production here, but I'm 0 on 10 there. They don't know anything about me. They don't care about me. They just care about the content. So I realized that some of us who have studios, you have to really take the chances with certain genres that you know can break through. And then you have to build that film over it. Like Kill will release in the 2nd quarter of next year. But we've shown it to Toronto last September. So it sometimes takes very long to build a film everywhere, through the festivals, through you know, the pipelines that are available, and then you do it. So you have to put your might behind films that are not just tentpole films. And we've done it. Like I supported Lunchbox in 2013, you know, where I took that up as a challenge that we're going to find an audience for it. And that was one of the first indie films that actually did a big theatrical number. So it's not that I haven't done that, but the effort is still ongoing. And as I said, the struggle and the hustle is still there. So no matter who you are, when you have to sell a film like Lunchbox, you have to really go and put in all your might to kind of make sure a platform buys it. You know, you have to make sure you package it in a way that it gets a bigger, wider release. You actually come on a week where you know it's completely empty, you know, and there are no empty weeks left. So it's very, so when a Mrs. Chatterjee versus Norway does the number that it does, you know, it's purely on the strength of its content and how much actually it's been pushed by the lead actor and also by the studio, the faith they have. So it's a combination of 2 things. It is tough, it is challenging, but it's not impossible.
It is.
So, Rani, yours was the first real success of the year in a sense, because people expected something out of Pathan. It's a big studio film, action film. Then the next big hit of Bollywood this year was Tu Jhuti Main Makkar, which again, Ranbir Kapoor, you know, stardom, love Ranjan, all that. So there's a certain expectation out of that. Around that time, the chatter was that content films or like whatever, people will go to see on OTT, but they're not going to come to screens to come to see it. But this shattered that myth, like Karan said. But given the fact that this was the chatter before the release of the film, and certainly the year before, nothing had really done well. Were you a little bit nervous going up to Mrs. Chatterjee's release?
So actually, Mrs. Chatterjee is a very different film for me in my career. Because when Nikhil approached me for the film, I actually lost my 2nd child. You know, so it was a very personal loss that I was going through. And during pandemic, you know, you don't talk to people, nobody comes to, and as it is, me and my husband are very like private people and we don't talk about it. And I was really emotionally going through a really tough time dealing with it on my own, because, you know, once you have a baby, you know, you have to always have an act in front of your child that everything is okay. So we couldn't even tell my daughter that this is what had happened. So I was going through my own thing, and when Nikhil told me about Mrs. Chatterjee versus Norway, my first reaction was that, are you serious? Are you like joking with me? So he's like, no Rani, this is a true story. And I was like, how can this be a true story? And how can an Indian family be treated like this in an outside country? And how is it even legally possible? He said, Rani, this is a true story. We've researched on this, and this lady has now won the case. She's got her children back. And I was just in shock. So I connected with the story in such a way that I was like, when I used to go to sleep at night, I used to think about Sagarika. Because as a mother who just has gone through the loss of a baby, I was just not being able to understand how is a mother coping with the loss of two of her children taken away from her, literally kidnapped, you know, and in some facility, and the youngest child being 5 months old. And I was like, she must be breastfeeding at that point of time. How did that mother deal with this trauma? So I connected so much with Sagarika that the chatter about whether the film will work, whether the film will not work in a pandemic world, whether what needs to happen with the peripherals of what we as producers and directors of being in the industry kind of keep thinking all the time, I literally connected only with the story. And I told my husband that I'm taking up this film because I really want to play this part, because I really feel for this person, and I want this story to be out in the world. Because what I also understood is that this story was picked up by NDTV and by all the leading media channels when it actually happened in 2010. But there were a handful of people who knew about the story. Like, you know, nobody really cares, you know. And I felt so miserable about myself. I was like, what was I doing in 2010 that I didn't read about this, or I didn't get to know about this, or why wasn't I seeing the news at that point of time? And to actually think that a woman actually fought against a country to bring back her children, and I, as a Bengali mother, I became like fully like in that tigress zone in my head, and I was like, I have to get this done, you know. And it was, you know, in the bubble that we were shooting, and we had to go to Tallinn because Norway obviously would not let us shoot there, or there was some things with the producer which I didn't want to get into, that what was the reason why we couldn't shoot in Norway. So they finally locked in Tallinn. So we went to Tallinn. I took my daughter and went, and my daughter was about 4 years old then, and 4 or 5, and she was doing homeschooling. And poor thing, she had to wake up at 6 in the morning every day in that cold of Estonia. But she was doing homeschooling. But I said that I will brave all things, but I have to play this part because I believe in the story, and I believe in the fact that Indians, when they hear about this, they will be as shocked as I was. Because I'm an Indian, and I was appalled by the fact that an Indian mother had to go through this in another country. So as an Indian, I felt like, is this how immigrants are treated abroad? Is this how immigrant families have to struggle? Like all the things that, you know, when we grow up, we have cousins who live abroad. We feel that they live an amazing life, and they have, like, you know, it's always a chatter that, you know, the grass is green on the other side, and you have a great lifestyle there, and you have this great, and you have that great. But we actually don't realize the struggles that a family goes through just to get that one day going in a foreign country, because you don't have help. And especially a young mother who is working, who's cleaning the house, who's taking care of the husband, who's taking care of the children, taking care of children, you know, like they have 2 children, they have 4 children, but they do this all by themselves. And imagine in that country to actually not know the language and to go through a trauma like this, what she must have gone through. So I said, I have to let my country people know that this is what is happening. And for me, that triggered me to make this film. After we finished making the film, obviously this conversation of whether the film will do well, whether the film will not do well, but I was very sure that this has to be a theatrical. And that was something that was there right from the beginning. I didn't care what people were saying about, oh, these kind of films will not do. I had some kind of faith. And I don't know what faith that was. It was a faith that I had right from the day I had heard about this story about Sagarika. I said, this has to be theatrical. And I think we have to go with it. And I'm very happy and glad that Z, who are the producers, and of course Nikhil and Madhu and Manisha, who are the producers of the film, they kind of stood by this decision of mine. And they were with me with each step of the way. And they said, Rani, we trust you, we believe in you, and we are going to go through this, and we will release this film, and let's see what happens. And thank God the movie was a success. Because for me, as a filmmaker's daughter, as a wife of a filmmaker, I do understand what happens in terms of when a film doesn't do well. And it's very, very because our successes and failures are for all to watch. We can't sit at home and believe that nobody's going to mock at us or make fun of us if a film doesn't do well. It is difficult when a film doesn't do well because there's a loss of money, there's a loss of face, there's a lot of things that we all deal with in our own way, because for the outside world, film people and filmmakers and actors are for sometimes to be ridiculed as well, and they come up with so many things that they put on us. But the truth behind all this, like I think all the people who are here today will resonate with what I'm saying, is that we start a movie with the single most intention of entertaining the audience. And I think there is nothing else in our mind but that one single thing. Whether it's a germ of an idea, whether it's a film, it is always that we think, will the audience love this? I think the audience will clap on this line. Oh, the audience will love this song. Or it's the chatter in a filmmaking room, or when creative people are sitting together. It's not ki you will like it and I will like it. It's like, will the audience like it? So at the end of the day, we work for an audience. That is who we are, and that is what I have lived all my life in that, thing. My father was not a very successful producer at the time that I was growing up, and I'm married to one, and I see him go through things every day. So as an actor in the industry for 27 years, and as a person, I think we are responsible also to our producers to be giving back that to the producers. Like, we don't want to make films where we see a producer losing money. Because for me, if my producer makes money, I'm the most happy. I'm like, yes, the mission is accomplished. And when the audiences reward me with their love, for me, that's bigger than any award that I can get.
Now, Prithvi, you're going to release Hadnelantu, otherwise known as 17ers, coming January?
Yes.
Yeah, you're the best kept secret because you make these amazing films that play at festivals. And have you had a theatrical release?
Well, we did. For Pinky Ellie, we did. I think of all these people, you are the only person who has watched my films.
No, he watched it. He actually asked for the links.
I asked for the film. It's nice. I really like both of them.
Thank you. So the thing is, see, for the kind of films that I make, we don't make it in crores. We make it in lakhs, actually. And we are not targeting a huge audience. We need a certain section of the audience to watch our film. And I know that there is a big number of them who want to watch films like mine. But the problem is there is no means to connect them with my films. Now, back in a few years ago, at least the OTTs were open to films like this. But now even they, especially when it comes to Kannada films, I don't know, maybe with other languages also it's the same thing, I don't know. There is a slight disconnect between OTTs and the audience, in the sense that the kind of films that they're picking are either big budget commercial successes or star-backed films. I'm not really sure that the audience who choose to watch films on OTTs are looking for content like that. They are looking for actual content, not necessarily star-backed, films or big-budget films. But they are not taking that. As of now, OTTs are not welcoming such films in Kannada. So
that's the same everywhere.
Yeah, possibly. What they want is for us to release the film first in cinemas. Now that doesn't work for us because you have to spend a lot of money in marketing. Same issue. Yeah. And when she said she didn't have a star, I was like, what is she doing? I have nothing. If she doesn't have a star, I have nothing. Yeah. So for
Even me, I have nothing.
So for someone like me to sell my film, we had to think completely outside of the box. So for Hadinellintu, which we are releasing on January 26th, what we are planning to do is, we have started a crowdfunding. Now through this crowdfunding, by the way, this is not a solo release. We are actually, we wanted to combine a number of festival films, which are good films. See, the moment you say festival films, you get that's a negative thing in India. Yeah. So we wanted to combine a number of these films and release them together on the same day, like a festival, across multiplexes in major cities in Karnataka, not outside of the state. But we could get only 2 films to go together.
Sorry to interrupt, but when you say we, you mean like a bunch of filmmakers?
Bunch of films, but we couldn't do that. Okay. So right now, what we are doing is we are releasing 17ers, that is Hadinellintu, along with another film called Koli Esru. Yeah. That is also a very good, a film which has won a lot of awards at various film festivals. So what happens is when you release these films, we wanted to add more films, but we don't have them. So when we release these films together, your marketing budget comes down drastically. You are basically sharing the marketing budget, the P&A budget. Okay, that's one thing. But then how do you get the audience? Because an audience, somebody who wants to watch a film like mine, he probably has not even heard of this film. So how do you reach him? We need more time to reach him, because the moment you release your cinema, you can't mobilize the people. You are done. You can't release your cinema and then tell them to come and watch the film. So we wanted to take our own time. We have kept about 1.5 months. We have started a crowdfunding where people, through this 1.5 months, we will mobilize the people. Now they will come, they will contribute a certain amount of money, and they will get tickets in return. Once the film releases, of course, they can go and watch the film. So we have kept this time to mobilize the people. That is the hardest part, actually.
You started it, when did you start it?
We started like 3-4 days ago.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, we have our own website called paraspara.live. Paraspara means each other, to each other. So we have started that. I think I see a ray of hope in that, because we already have started gathering some traction. It's reaching people. And see, we can't release our cinemas in single screens. That's what would be disaster. So we have to target only multiplexes, and even there, it's not easy to get people.
So the multiplex audience is already cluttered with so much content.
Yeah, I know.
And they're so busy.
And it doesn't, see, I think every week in Karnataka, apart from other language films, at least 8 to 10 Kannada films are getting released.
Yeah.
So it's not easy. So we wanted to take our time, take 1.5 months, mobilize the people, and make sure that this will be a success, because we have already gathered a good traction, and it's circulating very well in the social media, and we really hope to see some good results from Jan 26.
Such an amazing and
That's
inventive
really
idea.
interesting.
Yeah. So you came up with this crowdfunding
Finding
idea.
different way to reach.
When we released Pinky Ellie, you have seen the film. That was actually, you see, what happened with Pinky Ellie was it was the pandemic year. Otherwise, I am pretty sure that it would have reached some really big film festivals and made big news. Actually, even at the rough cut stage, there were interests from from big Hindi production houses for a remake. That never happened, by the way. But when we released the film, we didn't do enough marketing. People still don't know that there is a film called Pinky Ellie and it got released. Some people are asking me even today, when are you going to release the film? So this time we want to take enough time, do this crowdfunding successfully, get the people to the cinema halls, and then make sure that it goes to the OTTs. And by the way, in I don't know, again with other languages, in Kannada what is happening is the satellite, the TV channels, they're not at all open to such films. Again, they are looking for some star-backed, some big names to back the film. So that they can get their TRP or whatever. So that door is kind of closed for us. But the door that is still open for us is the OTT. And to get there, this is the means. But how do you get audience in cinema? This is the way.
This is brilliant. It's like a very strategic way of approaching, like turning a, like it's brilliant.
I will tell you next time if it's success or not.
All be watching Hawkeye.
Please.
But again, like to get back to the core question, what was the core of 17ers? How did you?
So for me, you have a certain idea that that you find interesting, and that stays in your mind. It just doesn't go away. And over a period of time, it might mature to an extent, but not really to the extent of turning it into a screenplay. But that's where I start my research. Most of my films are research based. I talk to a lot of people, I get the right information, I then write the script. So that's what happened with Pinky Ellie, and that's what happened with 17ers also. With 17 also, it started with the idea of two teenagers, making an explicit video in a classroom, and the video getting leaked on the internet. That's how it begins. But then where do you take it? You can take it in different directions. You can turn it into a teen comedy, you can turn it into a kind of a college action drama, whatever. But I wanted to take it in a direction that has not been seen by the world before. So I gave it those colors, those slightly political colors, slightly gender, caste colors. And then of course I didn't want to restrict it there, and then I took it to the police, the court, the whole 9 yards completely into take an audience through a journey that he is unlikely to see, but probably would have happened to somebody in this country that we are not aware of. So that's how it works for me. You start with an idea, but then it matures over a period of time, and when it doesn't work, when you don't know where to go, you start the research. You meet the people, you ask questions, you get answers, you take it to the end.
Right, right. And Jude, for you, it was basically the idea that I want to make a movie about the 2018 floods. That was the
2018, Everyone is Here is all about the Kerala people who struggled in the flood which happened in 2018. And fortunately or unfortunately, I was also a victim of the flood, and I lost my house and everything. Literally, I was in a depressed state when the flood was over. Then there's an Bodhini NGO. They approached me and asked me if I can do a video to give a motivation to the people of Kerala, saying that the life is not over, you have to move on, something like that. And I was thinking, I am the one who need that video. So I started researching on the flood timings, because I was not watching TV. I was not able to watch TVs or newspapers or something. So I read all the newspapers in those timings, and I watched all the videos in YouTube. So I was thinking, like, this is a nice story, huge story of humanity coming together. I should tell to this the world. I have done only 3 films before, under 3 crore budget, 3 crore Indian rupees budget. So I was like, this is a huge film. And in my inner mind, I was saying that this is your chance to do a bigger film, and some producer will come for you. And so I pitched this idea to my producer and said that this film can be done in our industry. It's a big film, but with multi-star. Like, we need more stars than a single hero. And fortunately, it was okay before the pandemic. And after the pandemic was like, the producer was not even taking my calls. He was like, you can do 5 films with 5 heroes, not this one. And I said, no, I want to make this film. It took me around 4-5 years to make this film, but I was very strict and I was very passionate about this film. In meantime, I made another film for this.
Sarah's.
Yeah, Sarah's in Amazon Prime. But again, I was trying for this. So this was like a personal thing for me, because everybody was saying you cannot do such big films because you are just a small filmmaker. You have done only 3 films within 3 crore budget. So I was like, oh, I have to do this. So all these challenges, the people will challenge you, like, you cannot do that. Then you will be like, yes, I can do that. I will make you wrong. Like, I will prove you wrong. Then after the film was released and the first day of the release, everyone was saying the same. Like, how did you do this? Then I said, this is what we all are capable of doing. Whatever we want, we just have to
Have the faith.
take the first step. Yeah, that's it. So
nice.
that's how it happened.
And Sandeep, the core of Animal, was it always the father-son thing?
Yeah, I always felt, in films we always give an idea to the audience that, everything is settled in the climax. But I always felt the love stories are always angsty. They never, it's always unsettled. So then I always have an idea of, father and son stories. So I thought, like, I'll give this unsettling love story angle to it, and with a family drama and little action. So that idea was there right after Arjun Reddy, and it took a while for me to finish. And I don't know how everything fell in place. When it is in the idea form, I narrated to Ranbir. So he loved it with a 5-minute narration. And after 1 year, I think after 8 months or 9 months, I met him again with almost 3-4 hours of narration. And that's it, yeah.
So you decided to treat a father-son relationship with the angst of a love story.
Yes. I thought, yeah.
Okay.
Because even in the climax, it is like, I didn't make them hug also once.
Yeah.
Because I've seen most of the father-son relationships, they'll always stand like 4 feet ahead. Dur se. They don't even touch also. A hug and a shake hand becomes a big thing. It becomes very awkward. We see in films a lot happening, but in real life, I felt.
Yeah.
With mother, it will be very close, but with fathers, it will be always a distance of 4 feet, So yeah, that's what, yeah.
Now, Karan, when you said angst and love stories, you made a statement recently that today's generation they approach love with a lot of angst and anger. Do you remember making the statement?
Yeah.
Yeah, right. So, no, because you make a lot of statements. You give a lot of interviews, so I was just making sure that you remember this particular one. So,
sometimes it's tough to remember what I've said.
sorry. Do you think that's the reason that even though Rocky or Rani is successful, it doesn't reach the heights of a Kuch Kuch Hota Hai or a DDLJ?
Honestly, it's like you said, like what is the trigger point to start off a story in your head? I was chasing like a film that really spoke to me about the sheer joy of all the components that I grew up watching and I hadn't visited as a filmmaker. I felt like that song and dance and family and love and yet saying something. It was very much the thought was patriarchy versus matriarchy. It was pretty much about that, because we do know that the Bengali community are predominantly a matriarchal society, and Punjab, everybody knows that's predominantly led, but there are strong women and strong men on both sides, so I'm not generalizing it at all. But there was the film had a certain kind of communication that was definitely more woke and definitely catering to a more urban audience. So I'm actually thrilled with the box office business, because I was very worried. Because I felt like everyone like that before that was saying that love stories are not going to make any money. And the overseas market is not reacting to it as much. The Indian markets are not reacting. And this film is not going to connect the way it used to in the 90s when I made Kuch Kuch and Kabhi Khushi and those movies. So I was like, I think the day before the release of the film, I felt I was going to have a cardiac arrest, and I'm not lying. My body was shaking, like I had a physical reaction. People who hugged me at the screening before have taken me aside and said, "Are you okay? Is all well? Why is your body shaking?" I was really stressed because I really felt like this kind of cinema may not connect. And then when there was applause in scenes and like laughter in the theatre, and it did the business that I actually had put aside as the number, and it did way better than I imagined, exponentially better overseas. I was like, okay, so I made the film that I really believed in, and the origin of the story actually was a true story that happened within my family, about an uncle of mine who actually went back into a past love life of his, which what happens with Dharamji and Shabana ji in the film. So that was really the trigger thought, and then it built into Rocky and Rani's characters. And I used to see, during the pandemic, I used to see a lot of West Delhi Instagrammers, talk and upload stuff. So I got like Rocky Randhawa from there. Like, I used to love the way they used to speak with such abandon and confidence. And like, I love that. I love that he actually was such a green flag guy, but also really endearing, unaware. He was almost like the 2023 version of Pooh. But like he was an updated version of that, and a green flag guy. Having said that, my film, like people have come up to me when I spoke about how much I loved Animal, and they've come and told me, but you made Rocky or Rani, like that's the vaccination for a film like Animal. It's the opposite extreme, and I'm like,
So that's the sickness.
I said I cannot disagree with you more, because I think Animal to me is my best film of the year, and it took me a while to kind of reach this statement and a lot of courage, because when you're around people, you fear judgment. Like during the time of Kabir Singh, which I also loved, I was like, I'm going to say this and I'm going to get dirty looks from certain people, but I don't care anymore. I'm just going to say it, that I loved Animal for its front-footed, absolutely conviction-based narrative storytelling, breaking grammar, breaking myths, breaking everything that you think is you conform to in mainstream cinema. Suddenly you have an interval block where the hero's getting bashed up and people are singing a song. I'm like, where have you seen a sequence like this? It's genius. The end, where the two men are going for each other and they play that song, I had tears in my eyes and there was only blood. So I was like, something's wrong with me, something's wrong with him, but something put together is very right about this film. Like, I'm like, this is not an average thinking mind. This is the mind of somebody who is so distinct and so individualistic that I was so blown away. I saw the film twice. First to see it as an audience, second to study it. Because I feel like, and I'm going to make it not a sweeping statement, but I think the success of Animal the acceptance of animal and the film itself is game changing. And I'll tell you why, because it's going to bring in a tone and a syntax that doesn't exist, that we seem to have got. The construct of a scene, like what I love about Sandeep, even in Kabir Singh and Arjun Reddy, I love that he has a popular song, he plays it, then he stops it whenever he wants to. Before the refrain comes out, he stops it, he starts it when he wants to, he cuts a scene how he has to. It's like he's telling his story with such conviction, and that's the conviction that I believe I also want to have, and which I had while making Rocky Aur Rani. I was like, people were saying, but single screens will not like this film. This one will not like that film. Like Rani was saying, like she wasn't thinking of who will like what film. I'm like, arey, make your film. If you make it well, with the conviction, you will find an audience. I never wanted to make 500 crores. I knew my film was not capable. I'm very happy for all of you who have made 500 crores on my left and right. But I very well knew this film is not going to do that number. But is it going to satisfy me as a filmmaker? Absolutely. Am I going to feel proud of it at the end way? Absolutely. Is it good entirely? No. It's flawed, like all films are. But I felt like 25 years later, if I can make a film that can cater to a Gen Z audience as well as a family audience, and you've done something right. And when as I said, conviction is paramount. To me, all of us here are here because of our conviction, right? As artists, and when I see Sandeep's films, they're so, and you can debate it, you can debate the politics, you can debate the scenes. I'm like, but I'm aroused by the cinema of this film. I'm engaged by the cinema of this film. That's all I want to talk about. You get into the nitty-gritties of every film, you can find flaws, you can find red flags, but I'm like, the biggest green flag is the talent of this man who has actually conceptualized this film. And this year I saw so many like great, fun, entertaining films, but there was only one film that taught me something, and this film taught me something.
Right, right. But to go back to what you were saying, how strange that in Hindi cinema we've reached a stage where big star-based love story is considered a risk, or like people are, it's so like,
but it was like, so suddenly when I did everything I wanted to, everybody was like, are you sure you're going to Kashmir to sing a lip sync song where she's in chiffon saris and he's in overcoats? I was like, yeah, I've done it last with Rani and Shah Rukh, and I loved doing it then, and I want to do it now. And everybody said it will seem archaic, it will seem old school. I'm like, yes, so be it. I want this song, I want that Kashmir Ki Wadi, I want to pay tribute to the godfather of cinema, according to me, Yash Chopra. And I'm like, I'll do it. And and I know they were like, but you're making a film that is so woke and feminist, but you're making her freeze in those chiffon saris. So I was like, now, I had a chat with Alia and I said, listen, a lot of this is going to be difficult for you. She's like, but I'm dying to wear this chiffon sari and do this song. But ask me first. Why are you listening to the world? Because I had an ADs that were all
But they're so lucky that they're asking. At our time, nobody asked us whether you're feeling cold, freezing. Pehno sari, perform karo.
When she did Tumi Dekho Na, I was so crazy at that time that in the minus 14 degrees, I said, I want rain. So there was there was a rain machine, but before it was reaching them, it was becoming ice cubes. So we had a health and safety department that was like,
in the song where I'm wearing the red sari, like Tumi Dekho Na, I actually froze and I couldn't walk. And one of my cousins who was also aiding him, Oyon, he had to literally carry me to my car because I had frozen. And it was so cold.
And I was so obsessed that I had gone and bought umbrellas that were red.
I like the cold.
I bought 100 umbrellas.
Freezing.
So because I had bought 100 umbrellas, I was like, even if the sun is out and there's no rain, make them walk around with umbrellas. Because that is conviction. So if you see the song, it's bright sunshine and they're walking around with umbrellas. There's no reason. But I was like, this scene, and we didn't have VFX at that time. So we had to literally crowd the frame with 100 people with the same color.
And the whole song theme was
colors.
Showing the different seasons. So unfortunately, he wanted to show rainy season in New York in the freezing cold, where there's no rain, there's only snow.
But the other thing I remember about the song is that everybody's walking around in shades of the same color.
So but if you see the song carefully, I'm actually freezing so much. Then the lip sync, you'll see my lips are like, they're like frozen.
No,
and the way I'm trying to
say,
and I'm trying to sing it, so it looks very sensuous, but it's not sensuous actually.
I won't use the word.
I've just frozen.
I won't use the word, but there was a scene, it was minus 13 again, and she was sitting in a shadi ka lehenga, and Shah Rukh had to come and talk to her. and she had to use the word garden, but because she was stuttering on the word, I can't tell you what the word was coming out as. And if you're clever enough, you'll understand what it meant. What was coming out, I said, Rani, what are you saying? She was like, but it's not coming out. Like the words were not, we were all, and you know, you feel like glamour can be so beautiful to look at. It's so damn difficult to achieve in all these kind of time. And kudos to these women who've done it. Like Alia had just, you know, she had just literally had Raha 3 months prior to this, and we're in Kashmir shooting the song because we had to release the film in July. It's the last, and it was minus something whatever, and we are singing this Tum Kya Mile, and I was like, I don't care. She was like, who she millowed at that time it was so cold, but she also had a dream and a desire to do a song like this.
Yeah, but all the boys are wearing like nice winter jackets.
No, but we were very compassionate with her, by the way. We
Yeah,
gave
really?
her all the
Don't talk to me, na. I've done films with you, so don't lie.
Yes. Are you trying to say I was not compassionate to you?
Obviously not.
She couldn't say garden and said something
And
else.
she said something that, well, I don't want to say it now. It's
We understood.
You understood. You got the drift. It's a bit of a posterior.
Okay.
We got
let's not
it. We
get
got
into-
it.
yeah,
I want to know one thing. When you have obviously a process while you're acting in a movie, how does it vary according to the person opposite you, your co-star? Because I'm especially interested in Dunki and how you and Shah Rukh worked out your scenes together as actors. Did you just be the same Taapsee you were in every movie in terms of how you approached the role and how you reacted with this person, or does it change? Does the chemistry of the other actor change something in the process in you, and like how you bring out the role?
I think honestly, it's the first time that I was very clueless and numb for a few days on set, because you're opposite someone who, now it sounds a little weird, who, when I started watching a lot of films, it was his films, and I can see the person in flesh and blood romancing me the same way I've seen him on that big screen and loved him there as an audience. So it took me a few days to shake myself up and realize that you need to not make a fool out of yourself when you're standing there, because this is going to look this might be your first and maybe your last. It is your first, but might be your last. So make most of this. I know that I know my job. I know what I can potentially do in the scene and in the film, but to sink that in, and when you're with Shah Rukh Khan in the same frame, it took me a few days, I won't lie. I mean, it's not that I let anyone know about it, not even Raju sir or anybody else on set. Might be the first time I'm even talking about it on camera. But it was little skipping a heartbeat, skipping a few breath moment for me many times on set. I had to always, after cut, come back. I don't look at monitors, never do. So I had to come back, and while people are checking everything, I had to just tell myself, like, don't get like carried away. Don't just don't freeze. Don't freeze. Because I'll say all my lines. I remember my lines, everything. I know the basic emotion, but the spontaneity and the feeling you bring in front of the camera in that moment was something that I was losing in the first few days. I had to do multiple takes to get that forcefully back, until it finally sunk in that I am on this set and I'm doing this, and it is, by the core of it, Dunki is a love story, and you might never get this. So just calm down and just do whatever you can, because you might never get this opportunity again. So it took me a little while, but the process with Shah Rukh sir is very different from my process. He loves rehearsing. He loves getting the line so well that it's almost his own. Whereas for me, it's totally opposite. It's the same thing that I had with Mr. Bachchan. He also loves rehearsing a lot. For me, it's like I know my lines because I've come from, after acting in a dozen South films where I didn't know the language. So I was so good with learning lines in my own language. I had to just read it once, right, and I knew my lines. So it's not like I have to learn and make my lines my own, because I had good control over Hindi. So it's just about feeling the right emotion and just performing it out. So for me, rehearsing, I get spent. So, but here you are, you're getting multiple times takes to romance Shah Rukh Khan. So I was just giving it all I could. I was like, let me keep bringing in what every ounce of emotion for every rehearsal also, and I'll keep giving it till how many ever takes possible. But this is the first time I was just like trying to like muster all the every ounce of my feeling from inside, which I usually am very bad at. So that was a big change that I've seen in myself over the period of 2 years doing Donkey, and maybe I'll probably carry forward in the future, that doing those many rehearsals and takes, trying to give your best in every take, because I'm very limited in terms, because I put in so much in my first few takes that I start getting spent unless and until you give me a new direction to follow as a director. So, but here we were like following a process, totally surrendering to my co-star and my director, of course. And I think I'm a changed actor or a professional after Donkey.
Nice, nice. Rima, you work with non-professional actors a lot. How do you get them to do what you want them to do?
It's always a difficult question. It's a bonding, you know. It is like when you are managing your actors. I'm saying managing. So certain kind of emotions and behavior, you know. It is a constant. In the beginning, I see there are actually interesting parties, like what I have learned. There are talents. You know, it's not that I'm always teaching them. They are already, they have something. You know, they already can act. You know, that is quite interesting. My job is, because I came here to become an actor, so mostly I was so conscious before coming to Bombay. Always in my school and colleges, I was best actress. So lots of, you know, praises happened. But when I was here, I was too conscious. So what mostly I do with my non-actors, I mean, I creating that kind of environment and bonding, giving them that kind of space. And also when I'm working from my production, making a film, then I get enough time. Sometimes doing just 2 scenes, 1 scene, and sometimes doing the same scene probably for 3 days, 4 days. So we have enough time. It's like a picnic also sometimes, but always need to be very concerned about the lights, because mostly I work in natural condition and natural lights I use. So that is one challenge. But mostly I was recently doing a documentary in Udaipur, and I found them all such good actors, you know, they adapt it so easily. And yeah, I think it is actors or non-actors, it's slightly different. Actors are more aware what they are doing, so then I try to, you know, how to go with the flow and unlearn a bit, you know, to get the spontaneity. And with non-actors, it is only challenges comes when it is a more emotional scene and you somehow need to push them, you know. So there you are a bit, you need to think and how to push them, you know, because you are bringing them to this film and this environment. So where to draw the line? And with professional actors, it's different. You know, you can push them. You know, so yeah.
Yeah. Sandeep, you divide people right down the middle. Like, I don't think there's any person who says, I half like Sandeep's films. People either love your films or you find people on the other side of the fence. How do you deal with the fact that this polarization is happening?
Yeah, most of the times I read the negative comments too, and I switch back to the positive comments and feel good about myself. And for Kabir, it was very attacking because I didn't expect that, because Arjun was never criticized the way Kabir was criticized, and now I'm used to, and I'm happy about you know, the more people are loving it. I mean, I see it a very less percentage, but the percentage has increased now compared to Kabir. So how to deal with, matlab, I mean, I ignore. I try to ignore. I try to forget, and I see the good side of it.
Okay.
Yeah. If it is constructive criticism, I take it seriously.
Right.
If it is just mocking at me, then I know why, and yeah.
Like, can you give me an example of like something that you found constructive?
Your review.
Okay.
So, and see, if I have to talk about other people, I have to criticize them again.
Right. Okay.
Again, it becomes the
Okay, yeah.
underlining point. So let's
Right.
not. Yeah.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Yeah. But strangely, Jude, you the most. Sorry, had you finished or? You
No, I mean to say that's it. I mean like, it's hard to put like how I take it, but
Right.
yeah.
I know this sounds like a strange question, but on the one hand, you have a huge box of success, but do the criticism still does that help in kind of buffering some of the criticism, or is that separate and is this separate?
No, it is totally different actually. I think I should ignore the wrong criticism. For example, misogyny, because there's no misogyny in Kabir. There's no misogyny in. I mean, Abrar Haq character is misogynistic, but nobody talks about him. People talk about Ranvijay Singh. People talk about Ranbir as misogynistic character, hyper masculinity.
Okay.
Whatever, I feel that has to go with Bobby Deol's character.
Right.
But they never mention about him. They always mention about the main protagonist. So I find it funny. So I don't take them seriously. But if it is constructive, I take it seriously. Yeah, I listen to it.
I just got that again. Just to ask you again, let's say a movie of yours makes a lot of money, but it also gets a lot of criticism. Does the money help to offset? Maybe it's a movie you produced or directed, whatever. Does the fact that it earned a lot of money help to kind of say, okay, made a lot of money, let me ignore the criticism? It makes it easier to take the criticism?
I mean, obviously, when you have a massive box office success, then the criticism kind of gets like, gets, diluted, gets, suppressed at that moment. Having said that, I actually read everything.
Right.
I read every review, I read every comment. In fact, I was shocked in the morning of Rocky Aur Rani Ki Prem Kahani because I was like, my God, everybody has liked this film.
Right.
The reviewers have all liked this film. It's never happened to me in my entire career. So I was like, everybody was giving it a positive review. That's when I started panicking because I was like, something is wrong because, it cannot all be like right. So I read all the reviewers. I know them by name. I have a lot of, whether I respect them or not is secondary, but I read everyone.
Right.
Because I like to know. I'm a big sucker to know like what people are saying, what people are writing. See, box office obviously dilutes and squashes everything. Some films, as they say, are critic proof and all that, but I don't want to be that filmmaker who doesn't read opinions, who doesn't read. I've been trolled for most of my career, it's the last 5 years the most, for things that have nothing to do with my cinema.
Yeah.
It's for things that lifestyle choices, or I've just been trolled a lot. And now that trolling doesn't bother me as much because I feel like, it used to at one point cause a lot of internal trauma. And then I decided to kind of just be resilient and move on. So the trolling doesn't bother me, but the critique of our cinema that we produce or I direct, that I read very carefully, like everyone. And so I'm very amused also sometimes because I love it when some critics actually who I respect a lot, like I do, I'm not saying it because I'm on a table, I have a great amount of regard for your reviews, and I always had. Even when you did not like my films, I've actually read them in great detail because I feel you learn something. But what I have a problem with is when people start writing their own screenplay in the review. I'm like, this was our screenplay. You can critique it, but why are you writing your screenplay?
It
should have been like this. But it is not like this. No. It is this.
Yeah.
So now you critique this. Please don't write your screenplays. And then they were like, don't watch it. That I have a big problem with. Your job as a reviewer is to give us your criticism or your praise. The choice to watch the film has to be left to the audience. My big problem is only that as a filmmaker, please don't end by saying don't watch it.
Or
don't waste your money.
And they say like a
Don't waste your
worded
money watching
column.
the film.
They say like don't waste your time.
Don't waste your
your
money.
money.
Funnily,
Your
nobody
time
talks
and
about
money.
the craft.
Both.
Nobody talks about the craft.
Yeah.
They either take sides. Have you seen anybody talking about the craft?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Especially in Hindi. Nobody talks about it.
No, that's my big problem is I have a lot of regard for every job. A critic's job should also be regarded and respected. And I have a lot of respect for it. But what I do not respect is when there is a certain section of people who mock your films and make it a stand-up comic act. And then in the end they tell you don't watch it. I mean, like, you are not supposed to say that to an audience.
Aajkal to beach mein they are advertising also.
Suddenly
They freeze in the advertising.
And I feel like many critics are compelled to be comedians.
Yeah,
like, suddenly YouTubers are trying very hard to, but then you do a stand-up act. Why are you using our film? For it. Like, please, there are a lot of comedy is a huge business.
I think what happens is creative people in general are very sensitive people any which ways, because when you are creative, you have to be sensitive, because that's what you're giving the audience, right? Through your characters, through your films, through whatever medium, filmmakers or actors, we're all very sensitive. So what happens is that when you make any film, like, we don't say when we are starting to make a film that hum gandhi picture matlab bana rahe. We don't attempt to make a bad film for the audience. Right. We all strive for, whether it's him, her, him, me, Karan, Sandeep, we all want to make a good film for the audience. Of course, in the making of the film, maybe the film might not be palpable for certain amount of audiences, but what they don't realize is that we made it with a lot of passion and love. So when they completely don't recognize the passion that we made that film with, maybe we made not a very good film, but even that not a very good film is made with passion, and we've made with a lot of love. So I think we actors or we filmmakers, we just I think expect a little bit of sensitivity towards our craft, sensitivity towards the way you talk about a certain film. And when a film, God forbid, doesn't work, then they gun for it like crazy. Then they badmouth it and they say, really mean things about actors, mean things about the filmmaker. And it's as if those people didn't put on an effort to make the film. So it's as if only a successful film people have put passion in it, so they deserve to be praised. And a film that is probably not accepted by an audience should be shamed.
And I have to say,
and that is very sad.
And I have to say, and I'm sorry to interject here, but also the hatred very strongly comes sometimes from within the industry. And
out of jealousy.
And I feel like it's whenever you have an industry screening, I feel like, at least where it comes to the cinema that, Rani and I come from and now Sandeep is exposed to, Taapsee is aware, we've sat in screenings together. So I just feel like those trial shows and previews are the worst places in the world. I don't know why do we do this to ourselves. Because many a time you have them and the most thanda reaction will come from those screenings. I feel the real test of a film is a paying audience. Like when they come with that abandoned to love your film. Nobody pays money to hate something, right?
True.
But here, industry comes and sits on a high horse, and they'll come, and there are those that will walk out of a screening and give that look, that congratulations. अरे भैया कुछ तो बोल दो say location अच्छा था, cinematography अच्छी थी, कुछ तो नया होगा ना. And then there's a very annoying section of people who will come and say, can I be honest? No, you can't be honest. My film is releasing tomorrow. Praise me and go home. No, why are you being honest one day before? I called you because I think my film is good, na? So now can I and they'll take you aside and have long chats with what is wrong with your film, and the day before. And I'm like, no. So we are suckers. We have these.
No, I think this feeling is of camaraderie that you want your
praise,
colleagues.
and everyone in the industry has much more of an opinion. They'll break down your film into first half, second half. Audience does not do that. They do this first half, second half phenomena is a trade phenomena. It is an industry reaction. Nobody in the audience breaks a film down into halves. When they are with the film,
they like the film or they don't like the film.
And they will walk out happy if they've loved your film. Even if they've had some here and there issue, they will talk about, wo thoda lamba tha, ye gana nahi hona chahiye tha. We will go, first half work, second half, so film flops, according to them. And then the numbers start circulating from day one. I think it will do this. But how are you a box office analyst? How do you know where it will work? I'm like, the saddest part of it all is that when I feel, and I've done it, each time I tell myself, myself, I won't do it, and I fall prey to it because I am a filmmaker seeking validation.
Yeah.
Somewhere I am vulnerable a day before my film's release. I want to call members of the industry who I
Yes,
respect.
Karan, I think it's also because you want to call your friends and colleagues to see your
No,
work,
but
which you
want that
work hard,
validation,
you know.
no?
Yeah.
You want, and I want to reach a place where I don't want that validation. I want to just make the movie for an audience, and
It's like every time we
but
have
I
that
want, and
feeling
those
that we
screenings are
forget.
traumatic.
You
They are
know?
traumatic.
You think इस बार ही नहीं
इस बार नहीं होगा,
इस बार ही सही
इस
से
बार ही
होगा.
सही
They
से
are
होगा.
बहुत traumatic.
Every
ये
time.
film industry screening बाबा रे बाबा. Like, and that's why I'm like, premiere तो कभी ना रखूँ मैं life.
You know, it feels
Because-
like that लड़की वाले standing outside asking all barati के खाना अच्छा था ना, उनको मजा आया ना, and then it's I get so awkward. I'm sitting in one corner से जिसको actually पसंद आई होगी ना, वो शायद आके effort
No,
करके
At least say
बोलेगा.
the snacks were
No,
good.
and the worst
The
is,
food was
the
good.
worst is the interval wala silence. You
Yeah,
know, when they meet you at the interval and they say nothing. You know, because they're, or the other ones at interval, they'll say,
No, I'll see you after
speak
the
to you
film.
there."
Yeah, I'll see you later.
I mean,
After the film.
I mean, tu kaun tu kham kha, where I'll tell you at the end of the film. Like, who are Steven Spielberg that I should wait for the end of it? I'm like, I've been through so many screenings and I want to kill myself because I'm doing this to myself.
Yeah,
calling
every
people,
single time.
waiting like an absolute mad person outside for
Yeah.
just validation. For just validation, nothing. And you're getting it
No,
in
so next
stream.
time you go first day for sure.
I realized I'm never doing this to myself again. And I did it and I suffered even with this film. I was like, every film I do this to myself. And I'm like, so when Sandeep talks about the negativity, actually, the social media is divided into that one top layer of negativity that is actually just virtual. It doesn't exist. They are faceless, nameless, absolutely pointless people who are spreading this negativity. The real people are not even writing sometimes. They're loving your film, but they don't necessarily write.
Yeah.
The ones who are writing want to make funny comments, point, this thing, talk, argue. Then there are defending star clubs, fan star, their fan clubs will start fighting with that ex-fan club, and then you're like watching all this and you're thinking there's negativity. Actually, if your film is loved, you will
shows in the
understand.
box office.
And it'll show, you'll get the feeling when you walk out of your home.
Right.
What people are writing, what they are saying,
So
doesn't
some of
matter.
these critics are also career advisors because in their movie review, it's actually a big career advice for the actor. She's been doing this, she should be doing this, and she. I said, okay, why did this come in the movie review? You talk about if I did it, yeah, but she's done this before, or she's just doing this. I said, you tell me if I justified it or no, or did it work for you in the film or no? They are giving me my career advice in the movie review of my film.
No, sometimes they also they critique the human being.
Yeah, that
Like,
also.
with me, it's happened where I read reviews that are all about me, the person, but they've not reviewed the film. They've reviewed what they think of me. So I'm like, but where is the review? I was like, where
They
is the
took the
review?
fact that a movie is a director's medium way too seriously.
Way too
It
seriously.
only was about director.
This director thinks this and he says this, but is he really that? And but what is the film? Why are you not reviewing the film?
And when they sit for the discussion,
Yeah.
most of everybody, for
Yeah.
Kabir it happened. In a panel, there were sitting 5 people. None of them watched Kabir Singh.
Yeah. And they're talking about the movie.
Yeah, this also I've seen a lot. Not seen
This
the
that
film.
none of them saw the film.
None
when
of
they
them
did-
saw. In NDTV it happened. None of them saw and they're talking a lot of nonsense.
So they're only making judgment basis social media, or that top layer hatred chatter.
Yeah.
A lot of them make decision basis that without even seeing the film and then having a very strong opinion about it. So it's that, or they watch it with such a biased point of view after reading all that hatred that now they're already skewed. So don't let everybody have a fair chance of making their own
And if you
judgment.
notice those people who do those, vox pops that they have now outside, the ones who are coming to say are all wanting to say sensational things. The real audience have slipped away
Yeah,
and
they-
gone away.
Yeah,
Those ones who are standing and giving loudly, they're giving because they want to go viral. Now to go viral, they're fucking us.
Yeah.
Because they'll say things like Arey tu, you Karan jo, but why? You just you can say piche se quietly people who really like your film, they've gone, they have slipped away, they have left the building. They are standing there and giving big bhashans there, but and I'm like, chalo, I mean, like, you know, and sometimes many a times we also as PR send our own people and say praise the film and all that also happens.
Really?
And let me say that also happens. See, sometimes you're struggling to make a mark. I want to tell you, you send obviously many a time you want to put out good videos, so you know, and you put out say
This one idea is this, the other idea is that.
Yeah.
Now I'm saying the idea of the
Having said that,
crossover.
and
Yeah.
also I want to tell you our
Yes.
vulnerability and seeking validation. What happens when you're vulnerable? You are saying everything critic. Then you'll dig out those critics who have liked the film and make that big poster. 5 stars, 4 stars, 3 stars, 2 stars. And some of those critics, I swear, haven't heard of themselves also. So where we have found those people and those sites, we do that also. As a producer, you will do every last ditch attempt to make your film be heard. So while I may have a big critique on criticism, I'm also riding on their backs when they praise the film. Because I'm telling you, I'm a Gemini, so maybe I can come across like a double-edged sword at times or two-faced. But I'm very well doing that also as a producer. And I know that there are companies that don't do it. Like I know Yash Raj doesn't do it. And they have a strict policy. Adi is stuck to that policy. I'm not that person. I'm changing as per film because I'm like इस picture को चाहिए जरूरत ये करो यहाँ let me be very quiet ये तो picture चल रही है let me take the high ground ये average जा रही है इसको hit का perception बनाओ so you have to do a lot of things you know there's a lot of work a producer's job starts when the film releases and then you have to really take it through like a warrior. When you have the box office, you can sit back and be very subtle. I'll not be doing any interviews, and you know we are not. You don't need to because the box office is doing the numbers. It's the middle order film that you have to fight for. And you have to make sure that you create an aura and energy, perception. I mean, everybody is praising, and then the problem is that sometimes you give 4 lines of praise for the film, and then everybody writes the same 4 lines. Then you know it's been bought.
Yeah.
You know, so then I'm like, oh God, now you have to be creative here also. You know, you have to put out like 100 things. It's a very interesting exercise.
No, but I think overall, Bhardwaj, whatever we all have spoken today, I think the most important thing that one should take from here is that everybody really loves their job. They love what they do. As an actor, I love to act. As a filmmaker, they love to make films. As a producer, they love to produce films. And it all comes, and this whole conversation is stemming out of love. Even when we talk about the hurt that, you know, we go through with what we hear or what we read, I think it just stems from the fact that we are passionate about our work, our jobs, and all we need is love.
Right. And
that's it.
You, Rani, actually have been really, really loved because you're still making movies. I think there's a Mardani 3 in the offing. You're the only female star with an actual franchise. And audiences have, through the years, consistently given you that love. Like when a Rani Mukherjee film comes out, it's kind of, there's a perception that it's probably going to be worth it and let's go check it out.
Yes,
How do you
I'm
maintain that
just-
brand over so many years?
So I think there's a blessing because right from my first film, you know, I've never had a feeling that my audience has given up on me, even when I've done the worst films or when the films have not worked at the box office. Let me put it like that. Let me not call any of my films worst because that is wrong. I love all my films because the mistakes that I've made in those films also have taught me what to do in my next films. But I think the audience, the way they have really made me one of their own, you know, like I'm part of their family, I'm part of their life, and that really makes me work and strive harder, you know, like with each film of mine, what is in the back of my head is that my audience is going to watch me and I better be better than my previous one because that's something that drives me to go to the next. And you know, there was a time where they said, you know, when you get married, when you have a child, you know, audiences lose interest in you. And I've always wondered why. Because as an actor, they don't have to know what I'm doing in my personal life. If a filmmaker, if an actor, if other people in the film industry can have their own lives and have settled lives, why can't an actress have it, you know? And I'm really grateful to God that God has let me break that glass ceiling because from the time I got married to the time I had my baby, I've actually starred in 5 films and all of my 5 films have been loved by the audience. And I can only thank them for this acceptance because we work for the audience. If the audience doesn't come to watch my film, I can't sit here and say that I made a successful film. So it is my victory through my audience. My audience has helped me to victory over this age-old thinking that, you know, now you're married, people are going to be interested to see you. But of course they will be if I come with a story that is engaging, you know. I don't have to be a Rani that I was probably 25 years back. But I want to give my audience something that they're engaged with. And if I tell them a compelling story and if I perform well, I'm sure I can bring their attention towards me, you know. And me being a mother can only help me in my creative process, because I'd become even more sensitive because I've just gone through this magical experience of giving birth to a child. And I've experienced something that as a young girl I would have never known or experienced. So for me, I think I've evolved as a person through the years that I've been in the industry. I've literally grown with this industry. When I started off, I was 17. And today I'm 45. So for me, I've literally grown with every stage of my life, with the years of my life. And the choice of films that I made was because I was also evolving through time. With the movies evolving, I was also evolving simultaneously as a person. And I believe that when I keep my ear open and I hear what people are chatting, you know, for an actor it's very important. Also, I feel as a filmmaker it's important to hear what people say, but as an actor it's even more important, because we can't be delusional about where we stand or who we are, you know. And it's best to accept who you are at what stage of a career and do things that make an audience respect your work or your choices. So the choices that I've made with my films have helped the audience even accept me in those roles. You know, had I not chosen the films that I chose, maybe I would not have got the success. So it's also important to know where you stand and not to listen to what people are saying that, you know, this doesn't work or that doesn't work. What works for you will work for a certain audience, because you're also a human being at the end of the day. You know, so what works for me as a woman, I know will resonate with women. What works with me as a person that I'm living with, I'm living with my husband, so I also know him really well. So I would also know his point of view. So we can't be closed, you know, we have to have a worldview point about, you know, relationships, about emotions, and that's how we choose our films. So for me, I think when you say that how I've done this, and this brand that you say that I have, I think it's a brand that people have made out of love for me and for my craft. Because when they come to see my work, they know that she's not going to let me down, because they know I'm giving my 100%. So when you see my work, I think there's a lot of honesty that I put in, and I'm in love with my character. Like, I can't work on a film where I'm not impressed with the character that I'm playing. I have to be inspired by that woman because I'm portraying her. I'm also making her aspirational for a lot of Indian women who are watching not only in India, but around the world. So there was a time when there was a critic who said that, Rani, through your films, we as NRIs come to know how Indian women are in India, you know, because you're showing me that through your films. And for me, that's a responsibility that I feel, that I want to portray different Indian women who have different facets in their life. Because in my lifetime, I can only be Rani Mukherjee, who I'm born to, my parents. But through my films, I can play so many wonderful women and such wonderful characters. And Shivani Shivaji Roy, Mardani's character, is one of my favorite. Like, I'm inspired by her character. So when I meet female cops, I'm so empowered just meeting them and chatting with them and understanding how they balance their personal lives, having children, having their husbands, having their own life, and also going and tackling crime, you know, meeting the deadliest of gangsters, you know, going in Naxalite areas, doing the stuff that you wouldn't believe that they would be doing. So for me, these are all very, very inspirational. So I'm very inspired by the roles that I play.
Now, Prithvi, let's say you get Rani Mukherjee, you guys say, let's make a movie together. Now, of course, commercial film stars, mainstream stars have, like, for example, Geetu Mohandas made a movie called Muthon. Niven Pauly was in it, Roshan Andrews was in it. So that it's not a new phenomenon. It's been happening on and off, but not consistently. Would Rani Mukherjee or Taapsee Pannu's stardom and the fact that they are with a certain profile, would that be a strength for the kind of films that you make, or would the people come to see a particular kind of Rani Mukherjee and find a different Rani Mukherjee and therefore go away a little is it an advantage for you to rather cast newer people? You know what I'm saying?
Well, I guess it depends on the kind of story that I want to tell.
Right.
See, most of the stories that I tell are rooted stories.
Right.
They are the people that you, I mean, some of us may not even see in our lives, but they are there. They make up the biggest percentage of this country, and it's their stories that I tell.
Right.
My stories don't talk about the 1% or the 2% of the population of this country. But that doesn't mean that I'm not interested in making the other kind of films. In fact, many people don't know that the first attempt at films was actually as a writer. I was basically into software. I was an IT professional. It's a horror film that was optioned by a UK based company for a Hollywood film. That never happened, by the way.
Okay.
The film didn't happen. So that was a completely commercial film. But see, the one thing that I don't like is the mushy. I'm not into that. I mean, the kind of films that Karan makes. I mean, I have a lot of respect for him, the kind of films he makes, but I don't like those kind of films. Even if I make a commercial film, I want to keep it slightly real. Real in the sense that within the framework of that narrative, of that script, I want to keep it real.
Right.
So if I have somebody like Rani Mukherjee or Taapsee, it would be fantastic, provided they fit the role.
Right.
If they don't, then it absolutely doesn't make sense.
Right.
If the kind of character that I have, if these brilliant actors are not suitable for that role, then it just doesn't. You see, I will give you an example. In Pinky Ellie, you had the lead. She is a middle class mother, and probably for that somebody like both of them are probably suitable. But the other supporting roles that I have in my films, none of them will work.
Yeah.
I mean, it's unbelievable. If you have some people like Rani or Taapsee acting in such characters, playing such characters, it becomes difficult to believe. And for me, authenticity is actually very important, at least in these films. So again, like I said, it depends on the project that you want to do. If it suits, then definitely it will work. But otherwise, I would rather go for the people on the streets. I mean, I have taken a lot of people from the streets actually. In fact, sometimes I have stood on the streets and did auditions, literally. So if they are suitable for my characters, I will look. I mean, I have gone to slums looking for people. We don't have casting directors. They don't come for my budget. So I literally go to the slums, I take them, I audition them, and then I take them. So yeah, the one thing, see, first priority in any film for me is the script. Then comes the casting. That has to be almost perfect. So if there is a character that's suitable for any of the actors, then it will work, but otherwise it won't.
You're full of these ideas. You like crowdfunding, going on the streets and finding people. These are all like.
But I think, see, those are the basic ideas of filmmaking actually. I mean, I'm not talking about the crowdfunding, but going to the streets and finding talent is the basic idea of filmmaking, nothing else. See, this is why I ask people to watch Iranian films. Watch them, you will see a vast difference between our films and their films. And I feel that for some reason, we are actually far behind Iranian cinema. This is an honest opinion, and I request people to watch Iranian films and feel how they, see how advanced they are in terms of ideas. Maybe not in terms of technology, but in terms of ideas where they are. And for that, you have to go to the roots. You can't go up and try to get those ideas in your mind. You have to go to the roots. You have to go to the streets. You have to look there and get the ideas, get the people, get the talent, and make it work.
Right.
So I would like to say something here, because I'm little offended when he says that we should learn from other people's cinema, because I do believe that Indian cinema is the best in the world. So I wouldn't agree with that. I'm so sorry.
No, I request the people
I'm
to
really
watch
sorry,
and
because
decide.
if you want to talk about a film that's come from the roots, I think you must watch 12th Fail. It's a brilliant film made by Vidhu Vinod Chopra, and I absolutely went mad watching the film. I was blown. I think it's a story of India. It's the story of what happens with those crores of youngsters who are coming from small town. In India, we don't have dearth of stories or real and going to the roots. So since you were talking about the topic, I want to say that if you watch 12th Fail, you will see how brilliantly and how beautifully Vidhu Vinod Chopra has brought in this story. And I was completely blown because such noble characters, such fabulous characters, and it's a real story. It's not a story that is borrowed, or it's not a thing that is written by a filmmaker's imagination. It's a true story. And Vidhu Vinod Chopra's craft in the film as a director and the way he's brought forth this story is just amazing. Like for me, it was the film of the year. And I just watched the film like 4 days back. And I called Mr. Vidhu Vinod Chopra up and I said that, Vidhu, probably this is your best film.
Yeah.
Because it's just, I can't tell you how brilliant the film is. And it talks about India. It is India. And it is the struggles of all the youngsters in India who go through this. And everything is very brilliantly shown. So I don't believe that filmmaking is all about only showing a certain way. I think when we talk about cinema or filmmaking or Indian cinema, it is an amalgamation of what we all do, whether it's commercial, whether it's festival, whether it's any kind of cinema that we make, mid-level films, high-level films, it's all a creative process. And I feel that in India, we are the population that makes the most diverse films. When you talk about a particular film, and I'm not going to take names of outside India, they don't have the kind of diversity that India has. You know, today in your round table only, there is diversity. There is a person from Malayalam cinema, there's a person from Telugu cinema, there's a person from Kannada cinema, there is a person from Assamese cinema, and here we are from like Maharashtra. So I believe that Indian cinema has a lot to offer, and we actually are the best in the world. And I would like to live with that thought. And I wouldn't want to compare Indian cinema with any other cinema in the world, because we have the truest stories, we have the most grounded stories, and whatever we make is what India is all about. India is not about one particular aspect. India is about so many aspects and so many things and so many experiences that makes the viewing of Indian cinema so special.
That was very eloquent, and actually that
diversity
leads me
is
to my
good.
last question, which I want all of you to answer. Isn't this is a great topic actually, because this could be the topic of Roundtable in itself. Isn't there also the question of the audience? Because if the audience wants a particular kind of cinema, they've been raised on a particular kind of diet. It's like saying you've grown up eating rice, now like eat roti, or you've grown up eating roti, now eat rice. It's that basic, right? Because let's say I want escapism. I'm saying that there's all kinds of films, but Iranian cinema is a particular kind of cinema. I'm not saying just Iranian, it could be Estonian, it could be, I don't know why Estonian is stuck in my head, but it's like, it could be Estonian, it could be whatever, right? It's like whatever. But the fact that, doesn't that also play a role in the way, like from the slightly higher pitch, simply because the audience, their tastes are like that. I remember once Kamal Hassan said that when he showed Hey Ram to I forget which Scandinavian country it was, they reacted very much because the full film was full of red and yellow and very, very, you know, our colors, right? Saffron. But he said because they're full of grays and whites and the very gloomy country, and this is like very violent for them. These colors are very, like they could not take it. And he had to explain to them that for us, we are a very warm country. And we have warm colors, and that's our thing. So isn't that also about the audience itself that kind of dictates the kind of pitch of cinema that gets made? I mean, I'd like everyone to kind of...
See, for us, I think we are coming from a land of Mr. Satyajit Ray, you know. So when I say Satyajit Ray, I think that ends my argument,
Right.
you know. And the kind of cinema he made, you know, it talks about your real, your... You know, it's just an amalgamation of all that he made.
Right.
So when I say Satyajit Ray, you know, you can't question that we are the best filmmaking country in the world,
Right.
and we have the best filmmakers in our country.
Right.
Because just see the room that we're sitting in. You know, everybody makes different films, diverse films, and that's the beauty of our country.
See, the thing is, if somebody has been fed on rice, and if you try to, you know, give them rotis, and if somebody has been fed on rotis and try to give rice, that's not a bad thing, that's a good thing. But the problem is, if somebody has been fed on burgers from the day one, then to bring them to rotis, it's a slow process. But I think that's what I was trying to say, that we need to slowly move towards there, because that's what is healthy.
No, but we are also a rice-eating country, you know, like even in Kerala,
Taapsee, what
in
do you have to say about
Bengal,
this?
fish
See, I
and
feel
rice.
there's a certain level of relatability that brings the audience's attention.
Right.
And that shouldn't be forgotten. You can always have a wrap of a certain kind, and what you have inside is something that you would want them to digest too, which might not be their regular palate.
This is getting very food related.
Yeah, we love food.
Digestion. Yeah.
So it's just basically something to lure them and then present them with something that is not their obvious palate or choice or liking. There's a certain kind of mix, I feel, that we need to approach things with. A midway of sort, which is very difficult to crack. You can't be a stubborn, arrogant, I at least it's subjective medium, so I can't be saying, okay, I only like this, so I don't care what the audience will like, I will only make this.
No, you can't.
That you can't do. So I need to lure them with something I know they will relate to, they'll like, they would love to spend their time more than money on this thing. And then present them in the garb of that, present them with something that they might look at and feel like, oh yeah, maybe this is also interesting, or this is also nice, maybe I never thought it from this point of view. So there's a equal give and take that you're doing with your audience. So you can't be stubborn on either side. I'm not someone who like everything that they like, you're only serving that. You're not even challenging the minds of your audience. I don't believe in doing that either. So it needs to be a midway of give and take that you need to.
I think at the end of the day, one has to make a film that one believes in and has passion for that particular script or that story.
Right.
And that story might be anything.
Right.
You know, as long as the filmmaker has passion for it and you make it with the best of your ability, you find a producer who can produce it to the best of their ability, and you find the right actors for it, and they could be newcomers like how you have in 12th Fail, where you had just Vikrant Masi and the rest were all practically new or not even like actors. Or then you have a film like Rocky or Rani, or you have a film like Pathan, you know, or Animal, or, you know, 2018. So you can just make whatever you want to make, but just make sure you make it with passion and don't make it like, ha, chalo, let's make a project. I think what is tiresome to see for an audience is when people make projects.
Right.
You know, as long as you're making a film with passion, you can make any story and the audience will accept it wholeheartedly.
Jude?
Yes, for me, making films itself is a big thing as an achievement. And I do watch films, all films, and whatever you make, be it roti, be it biryani, be it rice, whatever, make it with the heart.
Yes.
Like you don't need to think so much about the audience, like what they want. You just have to love what you do. Like I have done 3 films before. All 3 female-centric films, in the sense the main lead was a heroine, and the first film was Om Santhosh, and it was a rom-com which has not seen the Malayalam.
It's a very
unusual way of a girl behind a guy. And the second film was 2 grandmothers making a bucket list and going for some trip. That movie didn't go well. I have seen the other part of the audience reaction, like why this guy is there here in the room. And then I have done the third film was about the choice of woman, Sarah's, in Amazon Prime. So all the 4 films I have done with my full heart. Like I have done the films, and I have seen the 2 sides of the success and the failure. But I never abandoned my films. I said it's a mistake that some mistakes I made while making the film. So I kept learning, and I went to meet the great filmmakers like Priyadarshana sir, and I asked him, like, what went wrong for me. He said, you should always work with the people who are more capable than you. You should always pick some cinematographer who has more experience than you, who has more vision than you. So I always try to learn from the filmmakers, and that's the key thing. You have to keep on working on your skills, not to the critics' reaction or the audience reaction. You have to make your own filmmaking process, and in the meantime, you will be knowing that magic of getting to the good cinemas. So I do read all the comments or the critics, everything. I just take the best part of it. Like it would have been better. So I was just thinking, if it would have, what should be the outcome if I had done that. So roti, biryani, rice, whatever, you make it with the
Make it with
heart.
heart.
Change is constant, you know. So if
Rima?
you have to learn.
What I feel like our Indian audience, they are open to diverse content.
Yes.
They're watching different films, and we all are making films. We have our unique vision, either including dance, song, and it is very much there in our life. So maybe what I have made, maybe I have not included any dance or something, but in future I'm open to do it. And also, I mean, it is also good like collaborating with each other. I just don't believe in labeling a film as indie, realistic or commercial cinema.
Correct.
You know, it is especially it depends on the I mean intention of the filmmaker, what it like what film he or she wants to
Right.
make it. It depends on that. And if you ask me, like, okay, and also taking the responsibility, I am making this film and I know why and who are my audience. You know, my expectation is only I'm open to exceeding that.
Right. That's a lovely
Okay,
point. Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
And if I aspire as a filmmaker to make a grand film, like if Rani, Taapsee, if I have a story, I'd love to work with them, you know. And when we are collaborating, it's like if I'm working with non-actors or actors, it is like when she decides to work with me, I only need the trust, you know, trusting each other, because, and as a director, how I can give something different to her, and I'm as a director her mirror, you know. She has to trust me, and how we can bring something beautiful together. And also, if I aspire to make a grand films, that aspiration should not stop me what I am doing,
Yeah.
what I love to do, you know. So if it is a modest budget film or it is a big budget film, for me, the process, that creative process is more important, and enjoying every moment of filmmaking, you know. It should not bother me, oh, okay, you know, I mean, oh, like otherwise it somehow that I know that with Tora's husband I had a release, and maybe the response was good, but the way I expected, the audience was not like coming to the
Receptive.
theater, you know. So when we are making a big budget film, I'm assuming the way you imagine it, you know, you can execute, and it can look at it best, and also you have an extensive PR. But with a modest budget film, the maybe the response is good, but its fate depends on the PR, you know, how you are planning the film. So these are the things. So for me, I just want to make movies. I just want to keep making movies. It's also now in villages, like audience, they are talking about numbers. You know, they are also actively participating in that
I think
game.
they talk only
you
about
know.
numbers. That's what it seems like.
So
yeah.
it is like that. You cannot control like what film's going to be good, like in box office. A very well made film also not doing well in the box
Yes.
office. So I don't want to make my life what I love, it make it complicated. I just look for opportunities. I just did a film in Melbourne. I loved it with working with Australian cast and crew, and I don't want to go anywhere it takes me, and I just want to make film. And in India, I just feel like we have, you know, like n number of, you know, untold stories.
Yes.
We have local
Yes.
lovely stories, you know,
yes.
we are blessed with that.
Yes.
And we should just, if it is a larger than life, it is realistic, it doesn't matter. We should
imbibe the
bring
stories, yes.
these stories, because if it is Iranian or European, I mean, like, if I'm watching a story from wherever
In the world.
I want to see their world. It excites me to see their world. So why not we do that, you know, more and more, and that can happen. I just always cannot be stuck there. Oh, I am an independent filmmaker. I just want to do that. I just want to work with non-actors, not actors, not with this producer. I want to take that challenge, you know. And that collaboration, what we are talking about, that oh, this is not happening, this is not working. I think we have to break that boundaries, because we are having this panel. It should not be okay, tata bye bye, I'm going home, he is a commercial filmmaker, you know, profit driven filmmakers, or whatever we are labeling. And it should not be like that. We need to open, because whatever we are making, we need to see the long term impact also, you know, as a society, I think, and how
And
we
have
can
to have
appreciate.
respect for everybody, you know, have respect
Yes.
for each other, have respect for everybody.
Yeah, probably.
Karan and Sandeep.
I always believe from day one that we can feed anything to the audience, because audience will never ask, I want to watch this particular kind of a film. And I always feel kuch bhi, any story can be said in a with the proper conviction. And I always believe if I'm writing a scene, when I sleep over and when I visit the scene, I check if I'm liking it, I feel audience will like it, because for a long time I was sitting in the audience and watching films, you know. It started being a movie buff, so I always check that meter. If I'm liking, I always felt it's directly proportional that the gallery will like. So yeah, I mean, other than that, a poster, a teaser, a trailer will give a glimpse of it, and that's it. I think I don't know about the other countries' audience, but I feel our Indian audience are like open to anything. Because while I was growing in Telugu, when I was in Warangal, my hometown, I used to see a lot of Tamil dubbed films coming into Telugu. Literally, the lip sync was something else and the dialogue was something else.
Oh my
And
God.
we watched, the classic example is Bombay. Mani Sir's Bombay. Arvind Swamy singing that song in Beckel Fort. The sync is completely off. ऐसा लग रहा था कि some other music is playing, but still we followed. That says that, especially Telugu audience, like we watched all kinds of films, Hindi, Tamil, Malayalam, all dubbed films used to come. So yeah, I feel we can feed anything to the audience with pure conviction.
That is the power of the
Cinema.
visual, yes,
Yeah,
cinema.
yes, yeah.
Karan Johar?
Mr. Johar.
You know, it's bizarre, but I've grown up, like Sandeep just spoke, from the age of, I think, 4 or 5, I've been visiting, those days there were no plexes, I've been going to cinema halls and watching a film every Friday. It was a routine. I came back from school and I went to watch a film. At that time, even I grew up in a neighborhood where there were other kids who weren't interested in Hindi cinema. And I would take anyone in the house that was ready to come, because sometimes my mom or somebody, there was, other members of the household that would come with me. And every Friday I went religiously and watched, and I loved every film till you started developing an opinion. And then the VHS phase came and I started watching vintage Raj Kapoor, Guru Dutt, Satyajit Ray, and so many of the filmmakers, Yash Chopra. And I realized that I still till today, I continue to be a student of cinema. Like I said, I learned something from Animal, and I have learned something from every filmmaker, because I believe if you don't acknowledge the brilliance of
Yes.
somebody else, how do you get there?
Yeah.
I am an audience. I'm an audience first, a filmmaker after. So when I'm an audience, I will always be able to cater to that audience that I grew up with.
Yeah.
I grew up in a hall that laughed at a joke, that clapped at an entry, that clapped at a punchline, that got that gush before the climax, that felt the victory of your protagonist, and then went home with those feelings and those thoughts and those images, and then slept with them and woke up again wanting to perhaps see the movie again. I'm that same filmmaker who has seen a love story 25 times and a pyasa 25 times. Because I've loved them both for different reasons. I've watched Umrao Jaan with the same amount of abandon that I watched Sholay. You know, I've literally watched each film, and I watched so much of Ray's work with the equal excitement of that I watched Manmohan Desai.
Correct.
And they're totally different schools of cinema.
Yes.
Am I individually capable of doing some of it? No. Am I versatile? Perhaps not. Am I slotted? Yes. Because people call Karan, they'll say, you make that kind of film. But have you seen my love story? Have you seen my Bombay talkies? Have you seen Kabhi Alvida Na Kehna? Have you seen My Name is Khan? No, but you will be called and addressed as a filmmaker that makes family films or romantic films. So sometimes there's death by perception also, you know. And I feel like had my name been Karan Kashyap, I would have been looked differently. But like now my name is what it is. So it comes like
Be
the
proud
talk
of
show
it.
comes of it, and I'm very proud of the
Yes.
fact that I'm in an industry that is so diverse, and I grew up in an industry that kind of taught me so much, and that I've learned so much through the cinema. I watched Mani Ratnam before it was even known to people. Adi and I used to go together. We've gone to Aurora Cinema and watched, and that time it was not even subtitled. It was like we were watching a Tamil film which you didn't understand. I've seen Tiroda Tiroda, Mauna Ragam, I've right up to Bombay and Roja where they were dubbed. You know, when I was watching Bengali cinema and I was watching like films made from across the country, and then I started watching, I've seen Rajamouli sir's first film, Student Number 1, and I watched it right up to Iga, and I was a fan and I went and met him. And said, I really want to present Bahubali in Hindi because I've been a fan right through.
Right.
So I'm like, sometimes you get slotted, sometimes you feel like, oh, you know, we make a certain brand of cinema. But my doors in my production house are open from everything, from a lunchbox right up to like a big tentpole film, because I love our cinema so much. And I'm so tremendously proud of everything that we've done. Yes, there are misfires. Yes, like when Rani spoke about project, you know, those annoy me. You know, every project that seems like it's been put together to kind of, and those films have never worked out. A project will never work. A film made with passion, dedication, and true love for cinema will always get you that vindication. You know, so I feel like, to end, I just like to say, in my life, I have like, where else can you sing, dance, laugh and cry and still be at work? Only, how blessed are we that we are part of an industry and we can live vicariously, you know, through so many of the characters we create and portray and project. I mean, like, when I was young, I used to feel so sad for people who did anything else. You know, like, you know, I feel like, oh my God, like, and they all do great jobs. Like, we need doctors, we need engineers, we need lawyers. But thank God I'm a filmmaker, is all I have to say, is that, because look at what we have. Look at this wonderful gift that we are all we're storytellers, content creators, artists. And I'm like, I just feel happy and blessed.
We have to be thankful and grateful for where we are and what we do.
And I'm thankful and grateful for this panel. Thank you all so much. And let's have a great
2024.
I keep forgetting the year. It's 2024. Yes.
Pandemic
Wow. Yes. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
GT Holidays, South India's #1 travel brand.
Nokia, your social watch list, rate, review all your favorite movies and shows. Namma Family Builder and Developer Private Limited, உங்கள் கனவுகள் நிறைவேறும் இடம்.